See, the mistake of thinking, people-pleasing is just people-pleasing is simple. Is that people-pleasing is just a way of describing a type of personality. It's not a behavior. It's an entire worldview. People-pleasing is predicated on notions of I don't belong, there's something wrong with me, I'm not good enough. It is somebody that experiences a sustained state of devaluation, somebody that has no real internally discernible notion of their own value or worth. And so they have been totally externalized. And so what I mean by totally externalized is that they can feel good enough when life tells them they can. So they need circumstances and results and good grades and the approval of people and people telling them they're good enough. And without that, they don't feel it. And so they become unlovable without evidence. They become people that think that they need to be perfect first or prepared for life. They become afraid and terrified of disappointing others and failure. And they internalize, with profound guilt and shame. And they are conflict avoidant people. And so when you think of people pleasing, you tend to think of just, the act of being nice and generous and caring. But you see, it's actually just somebody that does those things while hiding how they really feel in order to get the validation required to try to correct feeling like they don't belong or not good enough or people don't care about them. And so these same people can become reactive and avoidant and passive aggressive because people pleasing does never results in fulfillment. People pleasers never feel authentically loved. People pleasers never feel connected because the way that they are in life is inauthentic. That they are morphing themselves into what they think people need and what other people want. They become the embodiment of someone else's needs. To get validated. And while they can be validated for acting that way, they never really get acknowledgement for their true essence they are as a person, that they are hiding how they really feel. That they're in a way afraid of reality. That they don't ever really feel like they're good enough. And so given that they don't feel like they're good enough, when they're not perfect, they become unlovable. That they are people that can never recognize other people loving them because they won't feel anything, because they are devalued. And so when you think that you're not good enough or there's something wrong with you, and your life is nothing but a journey to try to overcome those feelings and thoughts, in the moments in which you live, you never feel quite there. You can feel close, but you never really feel comfortable with acknowledgement. The very acknowledgement that you think that you're going to get from people pleasing is the same acknowledgement that you avoid. People pleasers hate getting awards. People pleasers hate recognition. People pleasers hate being accountable for being good people because at the core of who they are, they're not good people. They're not good enough. They are not worthy. They are not deserving yet. And so they live into a future fantasy of their happiness where their joy, their love, their happiness has been severed from their own experience of day-to-day living because they don't deserve it yet, because they're not good enough yet, because they're not healed enough yet, because they aren't yet fixed, because they still think there's something wrong with them. They still think that they're broken. And the only way they would know that they're good enough or not broken is if they were A, happy, which happiness won't happen until they've proven they're good enough, and B, proving they're good enough requires everyone else's signature and requires all these results in life that have never ever measured up to the perfection required to make this perpetual vicious cycle end. That it's endless. And then the only way out for the people pleasers is to turn away, is to be a victim, is to act as if it's life that made them this way, to act as if it's the judgment of other people or the guilt tripping or the control that other people have. But you see, the truth of the matter is the people pleaser is living out this way of being, which is from childhood. And so they form a subordinate relationship to the other people in their lives, meaning they live at the effect of those other people where they have no power. No power. That the people pleaser can be devastated by just simply thinking they disappointed somebody, or devastated if somebody thinks that they're not good enough, devastated because somebody they care about is treating them some kind of way. And so because they live with such profound vulnerability emotionally, where they have no sense of self-worth independent of the thoughts and feelings of others, and feeling like they're not good enough is a catastrophic traumatic experience coming from their childhood, they live lives almost as children, looking through the lens of children, literally trying to avoid abandonment as an adult, literally having relationships with friends and family and romantic partners and bosses that are all about you validating them or getting their validation from them. And so since they live this way, this is the only way they see reality, that they don't even think that they could live any different way. The only options they have are to people please or to avoid people. That's it. Because they can do nothing about how they're automatically triggered. They don't deal with the fact that their sensitivities are totally inauthentic. They never confront the notion that thinking you're broken and not good enough is not true or not real, and it never actually could explain your life. But you see, because they act this way, because they so seamlessly live in this false version of reality, it's self-fulfilling and reassuring over time that being a people pleaser results in betrayals and failures. It results in a fear of failure. It results in procrastination. It results in compromised decisions and bad negotiations and being used and discarded, which causes failures in life, the failures of which they will blame themselves for and will be used as the basis for ridicule from other people. And so as they attach themselves to toxic people, because the number one ingredient of being a people pleaser is unhappy people. You see, you wouldn't have to people please healthy people. Healthy people don't need you to fix their life. Happy people don't need you to go out of your way to make them happy. Happy people would acknowledge you, or good people would acknowledge you right away and not need you to do all that. But you see, the problem is you're hidden from view, is you don't live your life as yourself. You're not authentic. You're not really being yourself in your life. And so the very kinds of acknowledgement and love and support that you wish you would get, you'll never get. Because you're not yourself. In fact, you hide anyway. And so when a people pleaser needs help, or a people pleaser's failed because they, trusted the wrong person yet again, they feel embarrassed and ashamed of themselves, and they feel deserving and desirous of guilt, shame, and punishment and ridicule. They hide from it, meaning that the people pleaser will sit there and feel ashamed of themselves, embarrassed, and not want any help or support. The people pleaser will hide. The people pleaser will never ask for help, because they feel that they deserve to feel this bad feeling. Because again, they weren't good enough. Again, they failed. I guess there's something wrong with them. And so they blame themselves for everyone else's problems, including their own problems. It's always their fault. They're literally a walking internal guilt trip of themselves. And they feel weak in relations to others, that other people hold so much power because of how sensitive and how triggerable the people pleasers are. Why do you think they have to be nice all the time? They're offering bribes, that they're trying to avoid devaluation by being people pleasers because of their already existent sensitivities to judgments, that they don't feel like they're enough, but they need to keep people off their back. They need to make sure people like them, and so they go out of their way as a risk aversion strategy. That's the reason they people please, and they create false morality around it. They wouldn't understand people liking them without being a people pleaser. They can't understand it anyway. That they live as devalued because they were trained and groomed to coexist in the non-reality of narcissists, where the only way a people pleaser could coexist with a narcissist is by allowing all of that abuse. Is by not just allowing it, but ignoring it, making excuses for it, and enabling it. So people pleasers are codependent enablers that attach to the needs of other people through guilt. That they will realize, if I don't help this person, then this, that, the other. And so they feel guilty. They feel immoral by saying no, that when they become attached and people need them, that they could be easily guilt-tripped and manipulated to sustain these unworkable relationships to the benefit of other people, and no reward for the people pleasers ever coming except for maybe some breadcrumbing and, a little validation. And so that's what people pleasers do. is they just people please or avoid?